Today, we're so honored to have Mr. John to talk with us. As a founder of LVS, so your work with LVS has been pivotal in the Linux community. So what inspired you to start the LVS project and how do you view its impact today?
I started LVS open source project when I was a student in May 1998. At that time, there is the early age of the internet. So there's no solution of load balancing in Linux kernel. I think it's interesting to add a load balancing solution in Linux kernel. So I started work on it. And it took about 2 weeks to develop a prototype. And I released this version to the Linux community. I went to the Linux kernel mailing list and said, I loaded this software and how to use it. People respond. And some people use this software in their applications, real applications. I feel it's useful. And some people send me the new requirements. So I'm happy to implement new features. And probably after a half year, and there are more people joining my project. And some people contribute the codes. It is very interesting to do an open source project because collaborating with people around the world. So right now, LVS is widely used in the world, both in China and in overseas. So it's almost the de facto solution for load balancing. Even Google is using LVS to do the load balancing. So it makes me feel good because the framework I designed and the code I wrote 26 years ago is still useful and widely used. I see open source open a door for me because I can work with people all over the world and learn each other. I think it's changed my life.
Yeah, it's really impressive. So I think this contribution is actually very huge. So throughout your career, you have witnessed significant shifts in technology. So what has been your personal journey adapting to these changes and how have they shaped your approach to innovation?
Okay, yeah, I think I was lucky. I was lucky to see the technology shift over more than 20 years. And I participated in developing Linux kernel and also developing P2P managed system in my startups. In 2009, I joined Alibaba and lead a team to build the software infrastructure for e-commerce. Since the workload is so high, so we needed to build a large-scale system to support the Double 11 online shopping events. In 2013, my team was merged into Alibaba Cloud, and I was the CTO of Alibaba Cloud. So we developed the cloud technologies and also cloud services for external users. I think the design principle in the OS development and the distributed system, cloud system, almost the same because we needed to do a lot of design trade-off. So first, we needed to understand what the requirement is. And also we needed to know what we have as a building blocks. And we needed to decide what we can give up in the system design. So we can design the system to meet the requirement in the high performance and the low cost way. I think the design principle is almost similar. So for the time being, we needed to revisit our system because the new requirement may come up and also the underlying building blocks may change. So we needed to revisit our systems and maybe we needed to do a new trade-off. There's some new system will coming up. I think it's innovations.
Yeah, definitely. It's very important. Talking about AutumnQ, so you are the co-founder and also the CSO of AutumnQ. So with a strong foundation in cloud computing and messaging middleware, so what does AutumnQ see as a next frontier in data streaming technology?
Well, at AutumnQ, we see the future of data streaming as being cloud native. Looking at the evolution of the technology, it's clear the future is in the cloud. Taking the popular tools like Kafka, Apache Kafka as an example, Kafka is a fantastic tool for data streaming, but it was designed over a decade ago to running software on bare metal machines in private data centers. As companies transit to the cloud, this old system cannot fully leverage cloud native benefits like elastic scalability and managed services. So AutumnQ is focused on creating cloud-native data streaming solutions, which is built from the ground up for the cloud. And with the cloud-native features means our system can scale dynamically and are more resilient and integrate seamlessly with other cloud-native tools.
So, how is AtomQ particularly competitive in the cloud-native space compared to other companies like Confluent and Red Panda or cloud vendors like AWS?
Well, this question is about our main competitors. We think there are two types. The first type include managed Kafka service from cloud service providers like AWS. We think those managed version of open source Kafka without much innovations. So we don't really see them as strong competitors. The second type include a major SaaS company in the Kafka ecosystem, like Confluent and Red Panda. They still rely on the core Apache Kafka architecture. So they made some improvements like adding a tiered storage, and Red Panda uses C++ as programming languages. But at the end of the day, their architecture are not truly cloud native. AutoMQ is different. We use a cloud-native shared storage architecture. This gives us a big advantages in cost, flexibility, and easy operation. By building from the ground for the cloud, we can offer more reliable, resilient, and efficient data streaming solution.
Yeah, that's really impressive about the competitor. So, how does AtomQ's decoupling of durability to cloud storage differentiation from traditional Kafka architectures, and what benefits does it bring in terms of system reliability and cost efficiency?
Yeah, a good question. Cloud storage services give you a very strong durability with their built-in multi-replica technology. Most cloud service vendors guarantee there is 10 nines reliability of data. So if you add another layer of data replication on the top, you are just wasting storages. And AutoMQ offload durability to the cloud storage service. So we don't need to replicate the data ourselves. We store the write-ahead log into the EBS. And so the write latency is lower because the latency of EBS is around 1 millisecond. And also compact the data into the S3 object storage. S3 is the cheapest storage service in the world, but its latency of access S3 objects is around 100 milliseconds. So there we needed to trade off for the low time latency requirement. We write data into the EBS. For the low cost of storage, we use S3 storage. Yeah, so this approach save a ton of storage cost and reduce the computer power needed to handle data application. It is a big shift from the traditional Kafka architecture.
Yeah, that's really impressive. So I was wondering what specific cloud native technologies and services does AtomQ leverage to achieve its 10 times cost efficiency compared to Apache Kafka?
The big one in the cloud computing comes from two main things: elastic compute and also shared storage. So AutoMQ, we take the advantages of these two, the computing and the storage, and we push our storage, as we said before, to the EBS and the S3. And this will greatly save the cost in the storage and also meet the requirement for the low latency. Since we decouple the storage to the cloud storage services, the computing is elastic, and we use the spot instance of EC2 or Kubernetes containers. So when the workload grow up, we can use a more computing instance. It can linearly scale up. And when the workload, our system can shut down. So in the computing power and the storage, we can achieve 10 times cost saving as a total solution.
Yeah, that's very impressive, and also it costs a little. So I was wondering, how does AtomQ's roadmap for integrating stream data into data lakes with technologies like Delta Lake and Iceberg align with the future of big data analytics?
Yeah. Here is the deal. And the tech world is moving from the shared nothing architecture to the shared storage architecture. architecture because the customer really want to share the data. They do not want to duplicate the data in different systems. And they want the different system to dump their data into object storage in a format that other system can understand and analyze. That's why we focus on integrating streaming data into the data lakes using Delta Lake or Iceberg format. It means we can store and analyze data from different kinds of sources in one place. I think it will be the future of data analytics. Data streaming and data warehousing share the same data storage. There's no need to do ETL on data.
Yeah, so like looking ahead, how does AutumnQ's inventions its role in the broader data infrastructure ecosystem, and what impact does it hope to have on this industry?
Our core mission is to participate in building a cloud-native data-driven ecosystem where both operational and analytical estates are driven by data. And we aim to let data drive data and data drive actions, thereby to maximizing the value of data. And in the future, there will be more and more generative AI applications. We know data is the core of AI applications. So the data will drive AI too.
Yeah, I think that's all for formal questions. And there is one question that I'm personally very curious about. So I've heard you have been guided by the spirit of benefit from open source and give back to open source. So how did this principle inspire you to get involved in open source, and what advice would you like to give to others who also want to contribute to this field?
I think open source is a great thing because doing the open source project for the individuals, they can learn a lot of things. They do not need to reinvent wheels. We see the existing open source system, and if those open source system cannot meet your requirement, then you can improve it because you already get the code, get the source code. So you can change it and to improve the open source system together. Through this way, participate in the open source project. I think every individual can learn the knowledge and the experience from others. So we can make the world better together. For the company, I think open source is a very efficient way to reach the customers. Yeah, because open source project will find more users. And those users will pay for their paid service, for the extra service, because they need more service support. Then the whole open source business runs. I think it is the most efficient way to reach the customers. We don't need to have a salesman to reach every building to locking doors. And through the open source way, maybe a lot of customers will come for you.
Excellent. I've learned a lot from that. So I think that's all from this interview. Really, thank you so much for participating in this interview.